What if Final Fantasy XI had never raised its level cap? In this video, I'll be diving into my thoughts on that made-up scenario where Abyssea, Adeline, post-Adeline content was all still released, but still level 75. If you're new here, this is Hunt for Games, sharing my tips and passions for classics like Final Fantasy XI, as well as jumping on newer games that I hope are going to absorb me as much as that one did. If you're into that sort of thing, consider subscribing, and if you've been here before, as always, welcome back. But let's jump into this ridiculous and amazing level 75 2019 Final Fantasy XI. We've talked about this a bunch of times before in various videos, what the change from level 75 to 99 did to the balance of the game and how it kind of broke stuff. And I'm going to get into it for a second because I really love talking about it. It really sets up where I'm going with why the level 75 cap could have changed everything. But if you've seen that all before, you've had that conversation before, you're tired of it, skip ahead. I'll link in the description below at what time the theory crafting starts. But little background for anybody that's not familiar, there have been 1,000,001 updates to Final Fantasy XI over the years, some of which have offered drastic changes. The whole point, basically, of my What is Final Fantasy XI Classic video that I did a couple weeks ago, check it out in the description below if you haven't, basically saying, at what point is Final Fantasy XI at its peak if you follow its linear development, expansion, update, releases. Many have commented on that video saying that they think that Abyssea was the nail in the coffin for Final Fantasy XI as they remember it. That's when things changed too drastically, and I can't really deny that. If you weren't upset with the expansions up until that point in any drastic way, Abyssea was the level cap change, it took you out of the normal world. There were a million reasons that Abyssea totally changed the game. Whether or not you appreciated that is up to you. Others, of course, said it was expansions far before that, even as far as Chains of Bermathia. It's totally ruining the game, which I thought was interesting, but I mean, to each their own. Personally, I wasn't a huge fan of Abyssea. I didn't like what it did to the leveling process. I didn't like how it took me out of the world and made me this superhero version of myself, which really only had the reverse effect of making me feel super crappy when I was in the standard Vana'diel experience. But, for years, my biggest frustration looking back on Abyssea was that loss of the level 75 cap, which is where we started to see the 80, 85, 90, 95 increase to the level cap. It was sort of, the game was giving off this feeling that it was winding down. Final Fantasy 14 1.0 was coming out, and it seemed like they were kind of trying to sunset it. They were giving players one last little explosive boost of content to keep people engaged in a way that you almost couldn't even resist. You had to try it. You had to be like, well, what would it be like to have convert with sub-red mage? What is that even like? But for years, Final Fantasy XI was balanced around that level 75 cap. Merits were a system that was basically added to expand upon what you could do to your character post reaching 75. That was the whole idea of the merit system originally. It's I am 75 now. What else do I do? Do I level further? And that is merits. You just continue to gain experience and spend them on these merit points. But it goes way deeper than that. Gear, sub-jobs, traits, content in general, everything was focused around the idea that level 75 was the cap forever. And I'm not saying I'm afraid of change, but that subtle shift rippled in ways that I'm sure even the developers could never have foreseen. Now, they knew what they were doing. They were as soon as we do this, we've opened Pandora's box. There's going to be something that is totally ruined. There are areas that were dangerous always at level 75 that now are not a challenge. That is the simplest reflection of how the game has changed with the level 99 cap. There are things that used to aggro you. I guess they did manage to keep everything that used to aggro you at 75. It still aggroes you because it's just super easy version of itself. But you know what I mean? The removal of that level 75 cap, it changed everything. But one of the biggest ways that the removal of that level 75 cap changed everything was gear. Level 75 gear, pieces of gear that people had worked for years to obtain, were all of a sudden, for the most part, meaningless. Even in the first little 5-level update, they introduced all that level 78 stuff that was insanely good for basically dirt nothing. And while it was fun to suddenly be wow, I've got more haste than I've ever had before, and all this strength gear is super cheap, and everybody looked the same for this brief little period. It was super frustrating, all the Pearl gear, because it was so amazing and it was so easy to obtain. It leveled the playing field immediately. It basically just said, there's a new Vana'diel today. Horizontal progression as you know it is dead. We're vertical now, and everybody's on the same playing field for a few minutes. And depending on who you were, that might have really pissed you off, or maybe you were really excited. it kind of depends, but I was like super upset because there were a lot of really cool pieces of gear that I'd spent a lot of time to obtain, mostly from 1 to 74. Stuff like the Rogers ring, it's level 30, various, I could think of one example, the Moldavite earring, stuff like that. I get super excited about those pieces that are really good throughout the level ranges, and all of a sudden they kind of became meaningless. So balance was all over the place. Gear was in shambles because older gear that was impossible to get was still like sorta okay, but newer gear was coming along that was infinitely better. Compromise Limit had always been a game about as much 1 to 74 and the experience leveling and experiencing the world from 1 to 74 as it was about 75. As soon as they raised the level cap, it seemed like that kind of shattered, and all of a sudden there was an end game, and then everything from 1 to that end game. And that still pretty much exists today. In fact, they just made it easier for players to sort of get into that mindset. The leveling is super fast with Rhapsodies of Vana'diel, kind of exploding the experience gain. So even if you're doing it solo and with trust, you can get from 1 to 99 in like 10 seconds. But 1 to 74, it wasn't even just about the leveling experience. It was rewards that were valuable throughout the game because of BC&M drops that were either valuable spells that were one-time only uses, and you could sell those because everybody always needed those spells, or it was gear drops that were useful from 1 to 74, or even at 75 because they were just that amazing. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. Everything was so carefully balanced from an economy perspective, just sort of naturally because of how valuable gear, spells, items could be, that level 20, level 30 BC&Ms were still useful and valuable to do as a level 75 character. In the 99 world, that's not the case. Nobody's ever doing those level 20 BC&Ms anymore unless they really specifically need something, usually like a spell, and they just like will not show up in the auction house. But with the introduction, as I've said, with the 80, 85, 90, 95, 99 world, the 1 to 75 Vana'diels we know became less and less important. And at this point, I really just think it's kind of a stepping stone in your journey to the current endgame scenario, which is fun in its own right. We're not here to talk about that. What we're here to talk about is what it would be like if it wasn't 99. What if it was 75? Because honestly, a lot of the post-Adeline changes I've really enjoyed because they brought back a lot of the things that made me love the game from 1 to 75, and in that like mid-2000s era, just in a fresh new way that Abyssea kind of broke for a little while. It's brought it back, but everything's still all out of whack because we're all eye level 119, level 99 characters, so the strength is totally off balance. But this is all stuff we've talked about before. I just want to give that little refresher. What would it be like if the level cap was still 75? So let's start right at the beginning. Abyssea. So Abyssea releases. You still got the same Abyssea format, the crazy buffs that you can get and earn, the gear upgrades, the totally new like kind of artifact system for all the jobs, but it's all tailored towards the idea that the 75 cap is never going away. It's level 75, it's going to stay 75. What does that mean? There's no reason, Abyssea couldn't have offered competitive gear that was on par or maybe better in some ways than gear that we've obtained over the years from Dynamis and Salvage and Limbus and all, the other expansions and the content that they released. They would just be another expansion releasing more stuff. But Abyssea was still pretty crazy. I mean, let's say for the sake of argument that Abyssea parties still exist. So you can still get together in a link shell, spend 6 hours, and basically be 1 to 75 if you guys do it right. That makes me sad and kind of annoyed. I loved partying and I always hated how Abyssea kind of like shattered the concept of the standard party. But with the 1 to 74 climb still kind of mattering, with the 1 to 74 climb still in theory being important, you could still party if you wanted to. In fact, I would certainly hope that they would have balanced it a little bit because they were trying to push the idea that 1 to 75 wasn't as important anymore. And now we just want to get you Abyssea. Even if you kept the link shell parties, if you just sped up party leveling speed to match it or something, it would have been a nice balance. Especially with those books. I mean, I remember going back and playing with Hayden and Epic, and we did books in the Boyana tree, and we were getting like 40k an hour. Like, you could go super fast. Now, it turns out Abyssea parties were getting like 80k an hour. I didn't even know, but still. So, I'm getting off topic. At this point, the level 75 version of Abyssea, is the game drastically different than it was before Abyssea? Maybe a little. I mean, honestly, part of why Abyssea was so crucial when it came out was because it was immediately the only way to get any amazing post 75 gear. All the other content in the game was still giving that amazing level 75 gear. Abyssea was going to offer you much better stuff. That was part of the frustration. It's like all of a sudden the rest of the game felt meaningless because I'm like, all the good stuff now is in Abyssea. You're amazing. All the work that you put into Abyssea gets put back into you because it's all the, you learn all the what are the attachments that you could attach the crazy triple attack and stupid refresh. What am I even saying? Minikin monstrosity. I don't remember what the system was called. So you're in Abyssea, you're better in Abyssea, you want to earn more stuff for Abyssea, and all the best gear comes from Abyssea. You're never leaving. But now, if all the best gear doesn't necessarily come from Abyssea, just good gear, I think it'd be still much more balanced. So let's skip ahead a little bit. Adeline gets released. All the Abyssea content's out there, it's been out there for a while. People either love or hate the gear that you can obtain from that, but it's also level 75 gear. Adeline comes out, similar content structure, but there is no level 99. It's just the zones are on par with difficulty with, Endgame, Chains of Prometheus, or Zillard zones. It's just new. Adeline's actually a pretty cool expansion. I still haven't finished it, but I've been really enjoying the story. Part of my frustration when we first went into it was it still felt so alien. Everything about 99 felt so alien to me, and I never truly adopted it. I was like, this still seems weird. I don't like it. I gravitated towards jobs that didn't have like drastic changes, like Black Mage with Red Mage 7. I'm like, yeah, I can learn Convert and refresh myself. But for the most part, I'm still just casting something bigger than I was casting before, but I'm still just casting. But if I'd entered Adeline on the level 75 characters that I'd spent years molding and learning and kind of just becoming this Chururoi character that had certain 75 jobs and it was capable of subbing certain things to those jobs, and I had certain gear to support different attempts and approaches. If I'd walked into Adeline with that character, it just would have been a very different experience for me, because I would have been like, okay, here's a challenge. I know how we can tackle that challenge. 99 me, when I walked into Adeline, I was like, well, I've got my 99 Black Mage and then a bunch of 75s that I still haven't bothered to actually level up. I think I had my pop too. And I was like, the game had shifted for me. And yeah, it wasn't that hard, but all of a sudden all the gear, the years of work that I'd put into gearing up, making sure that if somebody needed my level 75 thief, I could be proud of that level 75 thief, helping them out, and like I would be a valuable member of the party. That work was gone. Now I don't even have a 99 thief. I had a 75 thief, and I was like, I can't come thief. I can come Black Mage or pup. It just would have been so much more exciting for me. But instead I saw blocks. I saw gates everywhere. It was like, well, I don't think I'm very good at doing that content as a Black Mage to start. I wish I wasn't a Black Mage right now. I wish I was something else. And then it was like pup. I was like, I don't even know how to use pup in 99. But think about some of the other changes that came along. I mean, trust. When they introduced the trust system. Yeah, we argue a lot about trust and what it kind of like does to the concept of the party dynamic, but Abyssea has already destroyed the party dynamic. Trusts break quest submissions in terms of like, I need a group to do this. But they also enable players to get through content that maybe it's hard to find other players to do. It's a careful balance there. I really love what it's done to the game currently in 2019 because of the population and what I am able to do in terms of like getting friends together and playing the game. I would have loved to see the trust system be more like 1 or 2 NPCs that can kind of round out a party, or maybe allow you to low man some stuff if you can somehow do it with like only 3 players, 2 which are trust. But you know what I'm saying? Like as a level 75 cap trust system could still have been beneficial and really cool. I just would have been really curious to see like, okay, what if at level 75 you can summon a little refreshed buddy and maybe a white mage or a tank or something, or even a full party, and like, what are you capable of doing on your own? I don't know. It's kind of a cool idea. I think it would have been kind of sad when it came out, because it would have been like, oh, like my soloing jobs. The same reason I'm kind of sad about trust now. All the jobs that are really good at soloing aren't as special because like everybody's good at soloing because you got trust. Rhapsody's been a deal. That would have been freaking sweet. Just even from a storyline perspective, something tying together all the expansions in this one flowing storyline, and even allowing like long-term players suddenly to level crazy fast. I would have appreciated that a lot at 75. Now, it would have kind of made, the first month would have been hard, because I would have been like, 75 used to be crazy hard to get. But like I said, Abyssea's already broken that. It's already too late. Abyssea parties broke leveling. So let's just do it. Rhapsody's a bad deal. Leveling speed enhanced. Then what about like capacity point parties? That would have been sweet. I love capacity point parties because they brought back the concept that skill chains and magic bursts are important to quickly bring down difficult enemies. And that used to be what parties were about before like burns became a thing. What if that concept, we always used to say like, why can't they just make things tougher, but more like they take more damage from skill chains or magic burst or something, or you get like an experience point bonus if you do a skill chain or magic burst on the enemy. But if it was level 75 cap, they wouldn't have to shoehorn you into these little disgusting tunnels of red and blue. I hate the gates. I hate the gates and like the fact that all Apex parties have to be down there. What if they could be anywhere in Vanadil and they just like added new high level 75 Apex enemies because everything's still 75 cap. So dangerous zones at 75 are still dangerous and you could get the Apex at like new areas within those zones. I just think it would be really cool. And the most important thing here is that you're not high level 119, you're not 99. So like the speed of gaining TP and doing skill chains and magic burst is the level 75 speed. It's like the average, okay, I'm gaining TP. It takes, you know, I don't know, like something like 10 seconds depending on what your job to gain TP, and then you fire off a weapon skill and somebody else fires off a weapon skill. 99 is really cool because you feel like One Punch Man for like everything. You're just like, I have TP and I self skill chain. Like every job can self skill chain, and that's like kind of crazy. But wouldn't it have been amazing if like level 75 speed of flow had something like the capacity point system, a new grind to get some amazing strength, but you're just not this like crazy fast like TP. Now, this does introduce some interesting questions in terms of like content that is basically solely focused on being harder versions of existing content. The high tier BCNMs and fights, Dynamics Divergence. Like, I don't really know where they fit in this mythical realm that I've created. I guess they could still exist, but like Dynamics would still be hard, so I don't know what Dynamics Divergence would really be. I leave that kind of conjecture to you. Ooh, it's kind of fascinating to think about, and I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Was raising the level cap a breath of fresh air that Final Fantasy XI really needed, and it actually kept people engaged in the game longer than they really would have? Or did it drive more people away, and it's only some of the changes that have come post, I would say, Adeline, that have brought people back? If you don't follow me on Twitter or Instagram and you weren't around for the Twitch stream this week, you might have missed the amazing news that huntforgames.com is officially live, as well as the Hunt for Games Patreon. Guys, for all of you that have supported me in any way over the years, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Financially, not financially, it doesn't matter. If you come to the videos and you watch the video, you are supporting, and I really appreciate it. Patreon offers me the opportunity to continue building this amazing community in a different way and kind of show off some behind the scenes stuff and just like some personal things about how I do Hunt for Games that doesn't really make sense to share on Hunt for Games. Hunt for Games has always been about building a community of people that love video games as much as I do, and especially games like Final Fantasy XI. That'll always be my number one drive. And I can't wait to continue building towards the amazing goal of building that community and building Hunt for Games even bigger, better, and maybe someday doing this full time. Check it out. We've got a big 10,000 subs approaching, so we got to celebrate that somehow. I'm really excited for that too. As always, seriously, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the amazing support. Check back for more videos each week as always, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more videos like this, think about subscribing. And if you already have, don't forget to click that little bell next to the sub button to get notified when new videos go live. Hit me up in the comments with your thoughts on this video, or come hang out and chat with me on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And definitely look me up on Twitter or Instagram and Hunt for Games to keep up with what else I've got going on. See ya!